Welcome to my dad's car. Enjoy!
Welcome to My Dad's Car, a podcast discussing our personal relationship with automotive nostalgia. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be about your dad's car. It can be your mum's, your grand's, your parents', guardians, or even a neighbour's. If it made an impression, let's talk about it. Hello, how you doing, man?
Hello. All right, how are you?
Yeah, I can't see either of you, but that's fine.
You can see me now. The first time I ever get to the thing early, Andy, and the video doesn't work the way it goes, isn't it?
So yeah, quick one. Martin or Chuff? Are you happy with
Chuff, yeah. Everyone calls me Chuff, yeah.
Nice to meet you, Chuff.
Hi, mate.
How's it going, all right?
Yeah, not too bad.
So welcome along, man, and thank you for A, supporting the podcast, and B, sparing a little bit of time to chat with us, really. So for the benefit of the tape, I met you through Volkswagens, and you were doing some photos for us at work, weren't you, for a photo shoot? I think it's probably while we're at Volksworld or one of those.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And let's jump into it. What's your earliest motoring memory?
Knowing that I was going to have a chat with you guys today, I did look at getting a list of cars from my mum of my dad's cars.
Okay.
And obviously that's where my earliest memories are. Probably aside from a list of my dad's cars, which I'll reel off in a minute, the earliest memories that I've got in terms of big impact on me, when I was maybe 6 or 7, and my cousin had a Mk2 Golf GTI, and every now and again he would take me out for the day, and he drove that car. At the time, it felt like he was driving the doors off it. Maybe now it wasn't quite so bad, but at the time when I was little, it felt like he was driving the doors off it. And footwell full of empty McDonald's wrappers and bottles of drink and stuff, and being a sort of 18, 19-year-old lad or whatever he was at the time, with me quite a lot younger.
Were you sat in the front or in the back, or?
Yeah, sat in the front, and he was living in a gated block of flats, and we also had this kind of trick thing where we pull up to the gates, and he would say we had to say a special password for the gates to open, and obviously he had a key fob just down the side where he could do it, and you got to say catch up, otherwise the gates won't open and all this thing. And I remember that really vividly, and that's where my VW obsession started.
Okay.
Then obviously memories of my dad and cars, although with my dad it wasn't so much a real passion for cars, it was more a necessity thing. I don't think I really get my passion for cars as such from my dad, but he had lots of cars. We didn't have a lot of money. He was a self-employed carpenter and worked in various other roles, but he had various little vans and cars. From what I remember, it was always a case of getting something that could get through at least one MOT, maybe 2. There was never lots of money to buy something really fancy. It was always, what can I get for 300, 400, 500 quid that could get me through at least 12 months to until the next one, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've managed to get a list of some of them off my mum, which is quite interesting because I was looking some of them up myself.
Yeah. What's on the list then? What we got?
So, 2 seconds, I will grab the list. I thought it'd be quite a funny talking point, some of them. So, Mark 1 Ford Cortina.
Nice.
Hillman Avenger.
Okay.
A Datsun 100. Austin 1300 Estate.
Okay.
A white Mark 3 Cortina with a black roof.
Nice.
A yellow Mark 4 Cortina. A rusty red Mark 5 Cortina.
It's a pattern.
And so quite a lot of Ford stuff there, to be fair.
Yeah.
Bedford van, minivan, Skoda van, Hitachi van, transit van ×2.
Good stuff.
Vauxhall Astra Estate. Some funny shaped Renault is all my dad gave me on the Renault, so I'm not entirely sure which model that was.
Credit to Renault.
Yeah, and a Rover 200, and then a Ford Orion, which was probably the last one that he drove before he passed when I was like 11. So yeah, the Ford Onion, as we called it. A two-tone dark blue on the top and like a grey on the bottom with a red stripe halfway down. I don't know if that was the standard or what, but
yeah, I think it was. I think they did them in Mark 4 Escort shape and Mark 5, I think, in like a two-tone, like the
right, yeah.
sort of the plusher ones, like the Gear maybe, or I think they did an Equip or something like that. I think they called it.
I think that Orion was a gear.
Mm.
That was probably one of the most plush ones. Yeah.
Decent collection, isn't it?
I had to look up the Datsun 100, if I'm honest. That's a bit before my time. And you definitely don't see any of those about at the moment.
No.
Have we got any colours for those?
For those cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the one I remember the most, actually, is the rusty red Cortina Mark V.
Okay.
So the big square body is almost like the Granada of the time was the similar shape.
Yeah.
But the big square headlights on it. And I remember many, many holidays camping because we didn't really have any money to go abroad and stuff. And we would load that car up to the point where the back of it was almost touching the ground, and a roof rack and stuff, just, suitcases tied on and everything, and go camping away for a week in Weymouth or Cornwall or somewhere. And I really remember that car. I've got quite a funny story with a caravan relating to that car.
Okay.
At some point owning that car, I don't know how we came about it, but my dad acquired a caravan to go with that car. And when I say caravan, it sounds a lot more grand than it is. It was nicknamed the Popeye van. It was literally big enough for two people to lie down in, pretty much.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really anywhere for us kids to sleep. So my dad, being the carpenter that he was, gutted half of it and built some custom bunk beds in there for us kids.
Okay.
And he spent a lot of his own time and materials and effort on doing so, trying to keep costs down and trying to get things are tight, trying to build it all himself, and made it his real sort of pride and joy. A bit like I've done now with my camper van, and we'll get onto that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was his real baby, and put a lot of effort into it. And Mum hated it. Mum didn't mind the caravan. She didn't like the towing, because it was before the days where caravans actually had any kind of stabilization technology of any kind. If the caravan decided to start bouncing around, it would almost change lanes for you by pulling the back of the car left and right, like a dog wagging its tail kind of thing. So she just really hated it being towed and felt really unsafe when it was on the back of that Cortina.
Yeah.
I remember it being one of the biggest arguments that my mum and dad had when I was growing up, because he came home from work one day and she'd sold it whilst he was out. Sold the caravan.
God.
So, it's all now a family joke that we talk about, obviously. But yeah, the gas bottle and the chain that was used to sort of secure the jockey wheel and stuff was all left on the front lawn. And a builder had driven off into the sunset with this caravan for like no money, 20 quid or something, because Mum just wanted it gone.
Yeah.
And this builder wanted to use it on his building site as a tea caddy. So they could all sit in the warm and have a cup of tea at 10 o'clock. And yeah, Dad, having put all that effort and time into building it, yeah, there was a row that day.
Oh, no.
Being only sort of 8 years old or whatever I was, or 9 years old or something, I remember that well.
So you mentioned family. Have you got brothers and sisters as well?
Yeah. So I've got my sister and two stepbrothers, actually, now.
Okay. How many of you in the Cortina, if we sort of go back in the day?
So that would have been my mum and my dad and my sister and I.
Okay.
The four of us in the Cortina, all loaded up with a week's worth of camping gear and stuff. And that's back in the days when it was a metal framed tent with a really heavy canvas cover goes over the top.
Yeah.
Not these kind of more modern light things.
Always your dad driving, or would your mum do some of the driving? Or
Yeah, Mum's the driver, has always been a driver, but just that kind of classic, if we're going on a big trip, it's the dad that does the driving and the mum co-pilot kind of thing, really.
Yeah.
Where was your dad getting these cars, Chuff? Do you know?
Back in the day,
Yeah.
just through contacts or trade it,
Yeah.
or at the local rag kind of thing, nowhere in particular, just drive it until it's going to cost way too much to get it through another MOT, and then scrap it and find another one that can last you at least a few months, if not, one MOT's worth.
It's funny, like looking back to that era, if you were in that situation, there'd be such a vast number of options to go for, wouldn't there, in terms of like buying a banger, whereas now you couldn't do it, could you? I don't think. Like if you were looking for under $1,000, you'd struggle, wouldn't you?
It is really difficult now to get decent little second-hand runabouts.
Yeah.
The way things are going, it's even more difficult with different clean air zones popping up and all these other things, because those cars aren't on the road anymore. Just to pick up an old banger for 500 quid that will last you a year, just tide you over until you get something else, it's just pretty much unheard of now. It's really difficult.
Yeah, shame.
It is, yeah.
If you're in the car, they have the radio on, or did your parents smoke? What sort of?
No, always have music on. Quite big on music. Yeah, grew up listening to lots of different music in the tape deck, in the Cortina.
Any favourites?
My dad back in the day used to do a little bit of DJing.
Did he?
So it was all a good mixture, but it was always like Michael Jackson and Thriller, the whole album.
Yeah.
I remember because it came up on my phone on iTunes the other day, which was just random. Jimmy Nail, Crocodile Shoes.
Mm.
And I remember that being played in the car. I mean, that was completely random. But I remember that being played on the tape deck at some point.
I think that Jimmy Nail, I forget what his main song is. That's obviously one of them. There's another one, but it still gets played on radio quite regular.
Yeah. And Auf Wiedersehen Cat was about that period as well. It was a big thing.
Yeah.
I'll give him a quick Google.
Jimmy Nail starred in I think it's probably like 80s, 90s crime drama called Spender.
Yeah.
He famously had a Sierra Sapphire Cosworth in that programme.
Proper.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was one of those sort of one season shows and then it disappeared from the face of the earth.
Ain't No Doubt.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's
there we go.
It's not a bad song, Andy. Yeah.
Number one by all accounts. I'm fairly good with music, but I couldn't hum you that tune if you paid me.
I think if you heard it, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. I won't attempt it now, or play it in the background because we'll end up with a court case on our hands.
Yeah. Big Geordie coming after us.
Yeah. So the Cortina went. What was after the Cortina?
What was after the Caravan as well, more importantly?
Oh, yeah. Did he get another one?
What was the solution?
No. So that was the end of our caravan experience as a family. That never really happened again.
I remember caravan holidays as a kid, actually, and the whole kind of, they used to call it snaking, where the whole thing kind of moves around, and we had like this extra stabilizer bar you had to put on.
Yeah.
We went through kind of a spate of caravans and tow cars, and it went from the sort of sensible things like Montego estate, we had a Sierra estate. Then I think like at one point we had a 1300 Astra. We were pulling a caravan with like you're four up in a 1300 Astra. It's probably got like 60 horsepower, and you've got a caravan full of all your stuff and a load of bikes and everything else.
Yeah.
No wonder you were getting to hills, and everyone's shaking in the car, just trying to help yourself get up. And
your dad must have been like, do you know what? Let's just pull up here.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah, country lanes in a caravan. Yeah, with no... I wouldn't want to do that.
And isn't this before you had to have done any extra lessons or anything to be able to tow something like that? It's literally hook it on and off you go.
Well, they've gone back again, so now you don't need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a period of time, it was a case that kind of a 30-something competent person couldn't tow anything, but like an 80-year-old old lady could kind of just hop in a Micra and hook up a caravan and off she goes.
Isn't it up to a certain weight now or something? I think up to a certain weight you don't
maybe
do anything. Yeah. But just mental, like you say, the car is not powered enough to be able to handle that weight.
No.
If it's on, it's gone. That old phrase.
Yeah, it was horrible. I think when you're in the car and it's all getting buffeted around and...
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I've ever been involved with a caravan. Obviously, I've never towed one, but I've never been in a car with one or any sort of dealings, never slept in one.
We had some good holidays and I could see the attraction, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be kind of responsible for towing anything almost. Like, I think I'd want lessons actually if I was going to do it and tow anything of value. Because the chances of getting it wrong is pretty high, isn't it?
And it's storing it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
There's been several times where I thought I could do with a car trailer to go and pick up another car, but it's storing it, and it's almost easier and more efficient to just rent one for the weekend to go and collect something.
Yeah.
If you really are going to do it, because you need space to put the trailer otherwise, and it's keeping it safe without someone else nicking it and all of those things. It's just extra hassle, isn't it?
Indeed. So next car on the list, are we still doing camping holidays and things even once the caravan went?
So even once the caravan went, camping has always been a big thing, and it's kind of led on to what I've got. My family, my kids and my wife hated camping, the idea of camping when she met me, and now she actually quite enjoys it. We enjoy it as a family. We've always done it since the kids were little, and we've tried to not let them being little put us off and just keep going with it. And got a dog and stuff now, and it's just even better, being out in the open. I love it.
So was your dad taking those vans and were you kind of sleeping in the vans sort of like a camper?
No, pretty much using just as a van.
Okay.
And staying in that orange and brown canvas tent with the metal frame. And of course, back in those days, separate footprint material, they weren't all sewn in together like they are now. And it was, if you didn't get it pegged down just right, you'd get a massive breeze coming up underneath and the rain would get in, and pretty waterproof, to be fair, but because they were so thick and heavy. But yeah, quite an ordeal to set up all of those good things.
Can be miserable, can't it, if you do it wrong, camping?
Yeah, and the weather is such a big thing, and this country we're knackered for that pretty much 80% of the time, aren't we? So yeah, we back then remember several holidays being a complete washout, and several since I've been going with my little family.
Yeah, you're like, I'll just hold on for tomorrow because it might be dry, and then tomorrow turns up, and you're kind of huddled around and you're soaked through, and
yeah.
I think I've been camping once in my life, and it was like year 5 in primary school. I went to a place called Stedham Camp.
Okay.
I remember it vividly as well. It was 1994, and I remember the USA World Cup, Football World Cup was on at the same time. I was sharing a tent with a lad, and I was really ill and ended up throwing up in the tent at night.
No.
And he ended up wetting the tent as well. He wet himself.
What a mess.
So, yeah. So, obviously we got pulled out of the tent, and then just kind of, I remember going, sat with the teachers. One of the teachers had one of those mini TVs, with the long metal aerial.
Oh, yeah. Like a Game Boy type thing almost.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And he had the football on. I think it was Sweden v Brazil. And we ended up watching that with a hot cocoa and sort of thinking, it's actually worked out quite nicely. But then we did have to go back to that rancid tent. So,
Oh, dear, yeah.
Yeah, haven't been back since.
Yeah. So sorry, Chuff, but let's get back to these old jalopies.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
We've been through some Cortinas. I think there was an Astra in there, wasn't there? And a Bedford Rascal or something. And
Yeah, so an Astra Estate, which would be in a self-employed carpenter and stuff, would have had ladders on the roof and fill up with carpentry gear and painting and decorating and stuff.
was that the family car as well, or did your mum have kind of a runaround at the same time?
Quite often we couldn't afford to have two, so quite often it was the one vehicle, from what I remember.
Yeah.
I think later on we did have, for a period, there was two. I remember my dad also having one, which isn't on there actually, an escort van, the classic white escort van for a while.
Yeah.
And mum had a car at the same time.
The old swirly thing on the top. Do you have one of those as well?
No.
The black.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think he did. It was probably wouldn't have been the right colour, but an ex-British Telecom kind of thing.
Yeah.
They'd finished with it as a fleet and it was being sold off cheap somewhere as an auction, and it would get us through another 12 months or whatever.
There was a lot of that, wasn't there? Kind of almost you catch it in the right light and you can see the stickers that used to be on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun had bleached the thing on the paint, and the writing was still there.
Yeah.
You can see the British Gas fans doing the rounds, can't you? With all their stuff removed.
Yes.
Are there any sort of standout vehicles that were singled out as being, I don't know, like ones that stuck around a bit longer than the others? Got through maybe 2 or 3 MOTs?
So really the rusty red Cortina is the one I remember the most. I do remember the minivan, and I said to my mum yesterday when she gave me that list, I said, do you know how much they're worth now? Minivans now, I mean, it would have been bought as a couple £100 work van to make do, but now a minivan, having worked quite a bit with Mini Magazine, they're worth quite a few quid. I remember the Rover 200 because my mum and I were in it when it was written off, so I remember that accident. So that was fun.
What happened?
We were waiting in the middle of the road to turn into a side street, essentially, and the car behind us didn't see that we were stopped, indicated waiting to go into a side street, and just went straight into the back of us and just wrote it off. Yeah, it was a Rover 200, so didn't take a lot. So I remember that one really well. And I remember the Orion, the Onion, quite well. It was blue and grey. But they're all, I think I said, pretty much means to an end for my dad. They weren't really the passion side of having anything too sporty or anything too fancy. He was just trying to make ends meet and keep a vehicle on the road to get him to where he needed. Unfortunately, he passed away before he got to a point where he could really enjoy a bit later on in life, where he had some spare cash to actually buy something he really fancied as such. So they were all quite, not mundane, but, they were all the, what can I pick up next?
Do you think he had something in mind at all that was considered to be like a nice thing, that if he could get something a bit better?
So from that history and from what my mum says, he always quite liked the early Ford stuff. My mum's dad, so my granddad on that side, had like a Mark 1 Escort and stuff.
Mm.
So I kind of, in my head, have built up that if he were around now, he would have gone back to that early Ford stuff. And a lot of his early history is Ford stuff.
Nice, yeah.
It is tricky being only 11 when he passed to remember what he might be into now, as it were. Obviously, I've gone off on a big tangent down the whole VW route. I've had lots of other stuff as well, but I'm a big VW man, and that's how Andy and I met.
Mm.
So your cousin, so he's kind of the influencer, I guess, with regards to the Golf.
Yeah.
What colour was the Golf? Do you remember? Was it Mark 1 or Mark 2? Or
Yeah, so he had several. The one I remember most is a white Mark 2 GTI.
Okay.
And obviously that was when he was quite a young lad at the time, and they were fairly newish, but he was a fully qualified plumber at like 20 years old. He was earning good money, and he had, what was quite a sporty car at the time. And I do remember him driving the doors off it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was younger, that was what really made me into VWs.
Did you go to any events with him, or?
Not really. He wasn't so much into it. He was into BMX. I get my love of 80s BMX from him.
Okay.
Just restored a BMX, which was a replica of my first BMX when I was 5. And that was all based off the back of him getting me into BMX and him tweaking the BMX for me. And he used to race that was back in the days.
Oh, cool.
And it was like ET, where everyone had a BMX in that era. But yeah, it's BMXs and old VWs was the thing then. It's kind of come full circle, and it's the thing now again in my life at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I had a Rally Super Burner gold one that my dad got me for a birthday, I think it was. So my dad had this workshop, which was probably 8 cars big, something like that, and he lived in a flat above it. And kind of for birthdays and Christmases and stuff, I'd go up there and see him like at a weekend, and he'd hide things all around the workshop as like a treasure hunt.
Oh, okay.
So he'd kind of give me a clue, and off I'd go and kind of try and find these bits. I found 2 wheels, and I was sure I was getting a go-kart. And then I found a handlebar. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not. And then, transpires I've got this kind of, what would have been second-hand then? He must have just peeled it out of a paper for 30 quid or whatever, kind of gold Rally Super Burner, all the like the black padding and everything.
I say that's black. They were black and gold, weren't they? The Super.
Yeah, the frame was gold. I think the wheels were gold, and it had the padding and one of those really uncomfortable plastic seats.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they were ever comfy for anyone, but yeah, I had that for a fair few years. I used to have a static caravan. It got kept there for quite a while, and I'd ride it around while I was there. And then, it kind of disappeared later in life. I don't know where it ever ended up, but they're kind of like £1,000 if you've got a good one now.
Yeah, and the rest. Yeah. Fully restored ones and the rest,
So what's the BMX you've built? Complete tangent.
Yeah, no worries. It's a Falcon Freestyler Pro.
Okay.
And I remember my dad taking me in the red Cortina to go and get it on my birthday from, John's Bikes or whatever it was called in Bath, where I live.
Yeah.
And I remember going in to pick it up, and it had a big bow on it and all that sort of stuff. So I've bought it all in bits and rebuilt it. And it's all done. I'm going to strip it down and get it painted exactly the same colour scheme. So it's literally like a sort of a full-size adult replica of what I had. And then I'll just use it at shows and stuff to get from A to B even.
Okay.
Stick it on the roof rack on the bus or whatever. Or stick it in the back and take it with me. A bit of a nostalgia build kind of thing, But yeah, my kids are dying to get their hands on it. And it's got like Skyways plastic white wheels.
Oh, the mag wheels, yeah.
Yeah, and my kids are desperate to get on it, and I'm just thinking, they're going to scuff those in next to no time at all. If I let them have it, chuck it down somewhere. And so, they haven't got their hands on it just yet, but I'm sure they will in the summer.
I remember one Christmas going around to my nan's house. My nan lived in kind of a really nice area, actually, so there was a fair bit of money around. And the kid next door had this brand new mountain bike, which had like the disc wheels on it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like either like Fido Dido or 7-Up or something. And I remember that whizzing up and down, and he let me have a go on it. It was like, that just felt so cool. It had gears, it had disc wheels. I was like, oh, man, massive envy.
Brilliant.
Probably terrible in a crosswind.
Definitely knocking you off.
You were doing well, weren't you, if you had the disc wheels? It was, definitely one of those things that you looked at and thought that would be nice.
Yeah, for a couple of years, they were the one.
You were the kiddie, as they would call it right this way.
Yeah. We were making do with Spokey Dokies out of boxes of cornflakes, whatever it was.
There you go, see?
Didn't even like cornflakes.
We had another family friend who had a big stereo in their bedroom, which was a Coca-Cola can.
Okay, yeah.
And then he had a dancing Coca-Cola can, which was like normal size, but it just moved to the music.
Remember having one of those flower pot things that you
Yeah,
play
I knew-
music to, and that used to wiggle.
Okay.
Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Complete waste of time, but probably worth a few quid now.
Yeah.
They're definitely, all those things are back in, aren't they?
Yeah. We need to work out what it is now that's going to be worth something in 30 years' time.
Yeah, indeed. There's been a few things that really didn't see those coming back out as being a big deal, and they have done. But I see a lot of them with certain shows that I go to.
Yeah.
Retro Rides Gathering and Retro Rides Weekender is a big show for me and my mates, and one that we really enjoy going to.
Mm.
Now you get all sorts of random cars you didn't know still existed, and then all the accessories to go with them come out of the woodwork, and people just milling about on old BMXs and different choppers and all different things. So I get to see a lot of those things, that those type of events. It's always who's going to bring the rarest thing that you didn't think would come back out of the woodwork next year, kind of deal, you know.
Yeah.
So when my nan and granddad moved from that place, actually, my granddad might have died actually by then, but yeah, my nan was still about, and there was loads of kind of just little bits in cupboards like motoring accessories. So I got like some green see-through plastic like sun visor extenders. So you strap them on your sun visor and you fold them down. And my nan was like 5'0", so you probably look through the gap between the dashboard and the steering wheel. Yeah, they kind of just fit on. I was going to put them on my old Polo years ago, but I think they're still in the garage somewhere.
So do they clip on, or do they like strap on to the?
They clip, or they've got like a Velcro type thing. So yeah, you put them onto your sun visor, and then there's like a hinge in the middle, and then they fold down like even further, so they come like almost halfway across your windscreen.
Yeah,
and I've got quite a few sort of old school warning triangles as well. They seem to have collected those.
Is that a good or a bad sign? I mean,
I don't
a hell of a
know.
lot of warning triangles.
I've got 2 or 3 of those kind of in like their cases and everything. Like, I can't just bring myself to throw them away.
Yeah.
But they're not really worth anything.
Yeah.
I'll put a My Dad's Car sticker on them and then like give it a year or so. They might be.
There you go. See, collector's item then.
Absolutely. So do you think, I guess it's your cousin's influence who's kind of steered you into Volkswagens, really, not kind of, would you want to get into old Fords?
I would. I think I am a VW man, as I've mentioned, but I think there's always, if you're a petrol head, which I am, there's always the odd car or two that you would have if you had the choice and had the space and money. I'd love a Mark 1 Escort Mexico.
Yeah.
If I had the space, but then that's part of a 50 car garage of cars that I would love to have if I could, kind of thing. I am mainly a VW man. My cousin was a big influence when I was younger in the VW stuff, and then getting onto my bay window, which I've got now. I've always wanted a bay window since I was 14 because of my stepbrother, actually, my older brother.
Okay.
So when we first started to kind of act as a new family of the step family all together, we weren't living together at that point, but my mum was dating my stepdad and things were getting more serious. And I spent a lot of time with my stepbrothers, one being, a year or so older than me, and the other one being 3 or 4 years older than me. And when I was 14, he just got his first car and he was a mechanic, so he was into cars at that point.
Yeah.
And many hours spent out on the driveway helping him fit too many 6x9s into the rear parcel shelf of his burgundy Fiesta 1.1i Poplar that was his first car.
Lovely.
XR2i pepper pot wheels on it, and absolutely no guts whatsoever in the engine, but a wheel spin at every junction needed. And he had a bay window come in at work that would failed MOT, and he offered the guy some cash for it, a couple £100 cash, because it had so much welding that needed doing, as they do. He ended up taking it home and he put it on my stepdad's drive. And we spent many hours sat in that talking about all his wonderful plans for it, and he was going to, be a surfer and go off for months on end and live in it and all these wonderful things, until my stepdad got sick of it a few weeks later because nothing had been done with it, and it was still sat there looking like a real rusty old van that was not that appealing to the eye, and made him get rid of it, made him move it on. And my stepbrother to this day still says that's the biggest regret of his life.
Oh no.
The things he's like, do you know how much that'd be worth now, and all these things, at the time he didn't have the extra funds to do what needed to be done, and certainly didn't have the time, as far as my stepdad was concerned. Since that encounter with the bus, I always wanted one. So that's why I've now ended up with one after however many extra years that is.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get one. And then 2 years ago, I was in a position to get one and thought if I don't get one now, the prices are just going one way. It's going to be even further out of reach if I don't do it while I can. And so I sold my pride and joy, the Jetta, which is the Mk2 Jetta that I had, which was a direct influence from my cousin's Mk2 Golf.
Yeah.
I actually looked for a Golf when I bought the Jetta, and I went and looked at a couple and test drove a couple.
Oh, okay.
And just couldn't find the one that really felt like the one for me. A friend of a friend had the Jetta for sale, and so I'll go and look at it. I wanted the hatchback, really. I didn't really want the Jetta. But when I drove it, it drove so well, and it was so nice. I just I got to take it. So even though it broke down on the test drive, that's another fun story.
I had a Mark II Jetta, red one. I used to say it's better than a Jetta, and I had I made a sign for the back window. You know, you get baby on board signs, like the yellow ones. I made one on the computer which said "body in boot," and I stuck it in my back window. So I kind of drove around, and I got pulled over by the police one day.
Really?
I was stood by the rear 3/4 panel, just having a chat with this guy because it had flagged up as no insurance. I had insurance. I don't know why, but yeah, it flagged up as an issue. But yeah, I was conscious that I had this sign saying "body in boot." We used to kind of talk about like the size of boots, almost like birth, as you do with caravans. Like, oh yeah, that boot's kind of this big, and obviously the boot on the Jetta is massive.
Really decent, yeah. You didn't have the classic kind of 80s with the fake fingers sticking out the.
Oh yeah, do you remember those?
The boot because that would have been perfect for the body and boot sign. You know, yeah.
I think Dale Trotter had those on his Capri, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that the police pulled you over because of the sign, not because of the insurance.
No. It was because
comedian, are we, sir?
No, but I had body in boot as a forum username. Actually, I was on the Jets Owners Club. Yeah.
Forum days, bloody.
Yeah, those are the days.
Yeah.
They'll come back.
You reckon?
When Facebook melts.
Yeah.
Probably not. No. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, yeah. Thank you very much, Chuff. It's been good fun. Anything else we needed to have asked you? Any cars we should have touched on?
I don't know. I've obviously got quite a lot of, probably 3 times longer list than my dad had at the same age that my dad was. I'm at the same age now that he was when he passed. And my list of cars is 3 times longer than that, at least. Some 2 at a time when I've got a show car and a daily.
Yeah. And
other cars that I've bought and sold, and bought them, tied them up and sold them on just to make a few quid towards something else. And got the bay window now, as you know, which is my pride and joy, the Slug, which I spend a lot of time and money on. It's nice. I've got T5 as the daily, so we go camping, we take the Slug, take the T5, and as a family we've got a van each to sleep in, and we've got an awning normally in between us, so we've got a bit of room for sitting if the weather's not great and stuff. And so we're still doing not so much in a caravan, obviously, but we're still doing the camping thing. And as I said at the beginning, as a family, if you get it right and you get the right site and the right location and the right weather, we thoroughly enjoy it. It's good fun, and we do a lot of that. So
nice,
indeed. Pray for sunshine. Yeah, thank you very much for your support and following along what we get up to.
Absolutely, it's been a good giggle.
Good to meet you, Chuff.
And you, and you.
See you later, man.
See you later.
There you go. It was a slow start, that one.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow one, wasn't it? But yeah, I suppose it just goes to show everyone's got a different kind of history, haven't they? I suppose once you get over the fact that the podcast isn't specifically about my dad's car, it's, well, as you can see, it kind of goes off on one, doesn't it, into different directions.
Yeah, I've tried to keep a few more tangents in the most recent ones, and I guess maybe they differentiate it from some of the earlier ones where we've sort of kept fairly on a straight and narrow. It is quite fun to kind of go off and explore other things, and
I think it's quite nice to hear like that kind of story. Obviously, he wasn't sort of swimming in cash, so in terms of the vehicles that his dad was getting, it was stuff that would just sort of can make do for a year or so, and then on to the next.
Yeah,
which is quite nice. Makes it interesting, doesn't it, as well? Especially like the caravan story, building that, and it's quite an effort, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think even when we kind of think, actually, have we got more memories to kind of bring to the table with this podcast? Like, we're still unlocking like these little sort of nuggets and things which you kind of you don't remember, but actually, when someone does start talking about caravans or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And BMXs or whatever.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about chundering in a tent when I was 10 or 9 or something. 9, I think I was.
So yeah, another good one. I think we've now got a website, haven't we? We've got a website and we've got a blog.
Yeah. Yeah, the blog that's most recently gone out, it probably won't be relevant at all by the time this podcast goes out, will it?
But yeah, if you're in the vicinity of MyDadsCar.co.uk, you'll find our new website with some photos of us, some photos of some of the people we've had on as guests have sent us, and hopefully a growing library of nostalgia on the blog.
Yeah, and it's just a good hub, isn't it, of all the stuff that we're churning out.
Indeed. So yeah, that's really good. What else have we got to do?
Thank you for some nice reviews, maybe.
Yeah, we have had a review from Steve Holden. Thank you very much, Steve. And we've lined him up for coming on in the new year as well for a bit of a natter.
As a reward / punishment.
Yeah, we can't promise to do that for everyone, but yeah. He posted a photo, didn't he, online of was it an XR3i Cabriolet kind of floating around in the air and in some sort of factory?
That's it.
Him and his dad had rigged up at the weekend to change an exhaust.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully there's a few more images like that from where that one came from, and plenty of stories. I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, that should be a good one.
I don't know whether we discussed My Dad's Bar on the podcast or not.
That's another good
wife's
one,
idea of discussing the local pubs that our parents may have frequented.
I like that, yeah.
Her dad not being a driver, but being a fairly seasoned drinker, could give us a good guide to the pubs of the East End.
Yeah. No, my dad would have been ideal for my dad. Yeah. The George would have been the front runner.
What was his tipple of choice? Do you know?
Carlsberg, I think.
Yeah? Oh, just a regular lager?
Yeah, just lager. In fact, always lager from memory. Yeah, playing it safe. Nothing too strong. Just kind of, I think one of those ones you could just sort of stay on, and, you know, if it was Stella, then it might be a bit of a different story.
Come home and throw your mum about a bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully that didn't happen.
It didn't happen, no.
Okay. Could unlock some sort of traumatic childhood memory.
Can we cut this, please?
If you've been affected by issues in this podcast, we'll put a little number up on the screen. And
yeah, I have to put this out late, back on late night Hollyoaks.
So yeah, okay, we'll wrap this up. Thank you very much, John.
Thanks, Sandy.
And roll the credits.
Thank you for listening to My Dad's Car. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please support us. Buy us a coffee and subscribe. And tell all your friends.